Yeah, getting some rotation. Ladies and gentlemen, special treat today. Ferrari 458 Italia out here on the canyon roads. Some minor modifications, Vogue TE37 wheels wrapped in PS4S rubber, also lowered on Novatech lowering springs. The front section width has actually been increased from 235 to 275, and the rear from 295 to 305. With such narrow tires of 235 in the front, you'd imagine the car probably understeered a lot more stock. Got this glass over the engine bay to appreciate your naturally aspirated 4.5 liter V8 flat plane crank, making that gorgeous, gorgeous sound that we're going to explore shortly. Also the first time that Ferrari has featured direct fuel injection in a mid-engine sports car. But the reason this car is so universally adored is that it's the last naturally aspirated 8-cylinder from Ferrari. You know, the 488 and then the F8 after, not naturally aspirated. It's gorgeous, super timeless design, and it drives fantastic. They did get rid of the manual transmission, right? So the 430, which came before, did come with manual. This is the first time that they did not have manual. By the way, cool little detail, these winglets here will actually deform at speed, which changes the opening to the radiator. Thought that was a cool little touch. Anyways, let's see how she drives. That's what you want to know. Getting into the interior, this does have the optional carbon bucket seats, which I hear is a must. It saves 80 pounds between the two. Also, you sit lower, and they look super badass. Although the interior quality, you know, great leather, great, great touch points. A few issues the owner has mentioned. The first is that, you can see the leather kind of peeling here. It shrinks. It is nice quality leather, but it shrinks with the heat. And the liner and some other areas here, I'm not sure if you can see, they started separating themselves, so we had to re-glue them. But hey, Ferrari interiors are not known for their build quality and durability, obviously, but it is a very nice, purpose-built place to be. We got the key. And got that engine start button. Love that. We also have an optional wheel, which comes with carbon fiber, and also these LED shift lights, which is very useful. Now we're going to turn off auto, we're going to manual, and keep in mind that the shift paddles are actually column mounted, not steering wheel mounted, so then if you are mid-turn and you want to shift, you need to move your hands around. It's a bit of a polarizing thing. Some people love this. I personally prefer steering wheel mounted, and we're going to start this off in sport mode. First gear. And we're off. 7-speed dual clutch transmission. First impressions, the steering, I heard it was an early EPS unit, but the owner tells me no, it's actually a hydraulic rack. And in the, right off center, there's a bit of lightness and vagueness. It's kind of dead, but then when you start turning more, then you can feel it bite and load up a little bit more. However, mid-corner, there's no change to the weighting, which is a little bit unnerving. You can't really understand what the front end is doing. It is a sharp front end. We do have double wishbone up front, and because we have more tire, we added, 40 mils to the fronts per the owner versus OEM. We have a lot more grip. That induction note. You gotta remember, Corvette was benchmarked. They actually bought a 458 and used that to benchmark the Corvette, and now with the Z06, they keep talking about the flat plane crank. It's because of this sound. 9,000 RPM red line. So when you're driving slow, the shifts can be a little bit delayed. Let me show you. See how delayed that is? But when you're pushing it, instantaneous. Oh my goodness. You know, the steering, I've heard a lot of terrible things about the steering. It is not that bad. It's not great, but it is not a terrible steering rack. You do get a little bit of feel when you start pushing it, a little bit of texture, not as much loading up as I would like. Now, they actually have this magneto-rheological dampers, and we're gonna put on bumpy road mode. Right here, you can see bumpy road on the left. And that completely transforms. It's such a noticeable difference. Actually, let's go into race mode. You can see the various components changing here between sport and race. And we're going to put on bumpy road mode and send it. Oh my God. Good Lord. 562 horsepower, 398 pound-feet of torque. Naturally aspirated, flat-paid vehicle. Oh, look at that, get a little bit of rotation on throttle. Oh my goodness. The brakes have this pre-fill function where the pistons and the calipers actually push the pads to make contact with the rotor. So there's no delay when you get on the brakes. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Yeah, no delay at all. Like, as soon as you touch the brakes, there's a bite. Brembo carbon ceramics do come standard. Though are super impressive. It'll let you down to a first near a red line. Yeah, getting some rotation. I love these shift lights. It actually has, you know, a lot of functionality to it. Some people think, oh, it's just for sport. You don't need it. You can just listen to the engine. It definitely helps. Because I've been doing a lot more sim racing recently, I appreciate shift lights even more. Use them a lot there. Wow, 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 guys. What an experience. What an experience. The emotionality, how visceral this car is. It weighs around 3,400 to 3,500 pounds. The figures being thrown around are always kind of changing. 3,450 is what it's officially rated at. But it handles its weight very well. You wouldn't think that it weighs that much. In terms of weight distribution, 43% over the front axle, 57% over the rear. The front end still feels sharp, but you can tell it's mid-engine. You can tell that there isn't as much weight over the front. And I definitely think that with the original, 235 section width, probably a lot more understeer prone. Right now it feels like the front end feels sharp. Steering ratio very fast. It just really is not darty, but a very responsive front end. The brakes, there's something a bit, how do I describe this? They're not as natural to modulate. It's like the brake feel is a little bit muted. And I wonder if that pre-fill technology has something to do with it. The throws for these actual paddles, they're pretty long. And they're not as crisp as something like more recent Porsches. For example, the GT4 RS that we drove. But keep in mind, this car is, a decade old. Such a cool vehicle. This really, is a callback to Ferrari in their heyday of Formula One. The late aughts, approaching 2010, this car comes out. Also, Formula One goes from V10 to V8s, and those are some violent shifts. it's part of the occasion, it's part of the drama. All these other car companies, they're trying to like smooth it out, everything, make it feel very polished, refined. And Ferrari's like, no, we're gonna give you a proper DCT and you're gonna feel every shift, which I love. When you're pushing it, it's almost as quick and natural as a PDK. More aggressive shifts though. When you're going slow, then you can see that it's a little bit slower. But not painfully so, right? It's still fantastic transmission. But yeah, Formula One. So Michael Schumacher apparently was consulted for some interior design components. Not sure, you know, how much of that is marketing, how much of that is actual substance. Who knows? But what a special vehicle. When these things came out, 225K MSRP, and now on the used market, this is not, you know, a pristine example. This would be something like in the 100s, but you can get a 458 for 150 to 300K. It's a widespread depending on the condition and such. But wow, what a special experience. You know, just toggling this little Manatino from sport to race, you can feel a big difference. You can feel the E-diff being more aggressive, helping you rotate the cars you get on throttle, which I love. And then my favorite part was this bumpy road mode, which very surprising how much that, you know, their equivalent of Magna Ride, how much of a difference it makes. It just soaks up the bumps. What an amazing car, guys. Definitely one of my top driving experiences. Big thanks to Danny, the owner, for letting me review his car. Big thanks to Fenton's son from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this review possible. Go check out his channel as well. But my friends, I'm curious to hear what you think of the Ferrari 458 Italia. If you had around 200K to spend, would you get this? Something else? These are such special vehicles, and they're held in high regard for very good reason. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in the next one.